You know what it is, what it was, what it will be, man. It's your main man, Jason Mitchell, signing on. And we rocking with Hip Hop Revival right now. I got a little lowdown, you heard? If you know what's up, fuck with Chuck. You know what I mean? Holla at your boy.
Fuck with Chuck, nigga.
Fuck with Chuck, you in luck.
Fuck with Chuck if you want the best shit.
All right, what up, Hip Hop Revival? If you don't know who I am, well, let me say this first of all. If you do know who I am, I appreciate you very much. You know, I'm nothing without a fan right now. I'm nothing without people loving my stuff. But my name is Jason Mitchell. I'm an actor. I've been in this for about, 6.5, 7 years right now. And my breakout role was Straight Outta Compton. I played Eazy E. You know, I had a lot of good people around me. Shout out to F. Gary Gray. He got Fast 8 coming. And, just a lot of great things happened for me. You know what I mean? I was just in a big blockbuster, Kong Skull Island. Shout out to Jordan Voight Roberts. Shout out to so many good people, man. I got to work with a great cast, from Sam Jackson, John C. Reilly, John Goodman, a lot of the greats to the nows, you know what I mean? Your Tom Hiddlestons, your Brie Larsons, like it's just been great, So what up? I'm in the building. Holla at me.
He played in 2 movies. Like you said, he's got the new King Kong movie coming up, and he did star in the new Compton movie. But tell the people where you from, where you grew up.
I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm an Army brat, so I moved around a little bit. I had, some culture, at a young age, because my mama, she did 20 years in the Army, but we originally from New Orleans, So I did all my high school years there and all that, and the storm hit when I was 18, and I just jumped straight into the work world, and I really didn't have too much of a plan, I guess. I just felt like helping my mama and helping my family was the best way to help out, just in general. You know what I mean? Helping myself was the best way to help out. So I jumped into the work world quick, and it wasn't until I was like 23 that I just started, picking up this acting situation. I had a really good friend of mine. Shout out to Chris Newman. That's my dude. He just was like, yo, maybe you should, go to this little acting class or whatever. It'd be something different for you, it'll be a change of pace. And I'm like, got some nice looking females in there, some people who ain't into what I'm into. So I'm like, all right, cool, So I went down and checked it out. And then before you knew it, it turned into something that was an outlet for me. It became something real and something that I could put my time into that was productive, you know what I mean? But I could be different. I could be myself, but at the same time, let my world go, And it was a lot for me to grasp all at once, but I just had like a fire under my ass, like nobody else could set, you know what I mean? So I was like, yo, let me just put my head down and try this, you know what I mean? And before you know it, in 6 or 7 months, I had booked a role. Shout out to Mark Wahlberg, that's my dude. He looked out. But yeah, before you know it, I was booking 2 movies a year, And then, 2014 rolled around and Eazy E rolled through my email and, God said the same, so I'm here right now, Yeah.
Okay, so like you said, you said the storm hit you when you was 18.
Yeah.
And you still been grinding, but you said like at the age
Shout out to Katrina.
Like you were saying, you said when you was 18, the storm hit you,
right.
You still been grinding.
Right.
Around the age of 23, you started to pick up the acting.
Right.
What exactly was you doing like before?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, man, I was headed down the wrong path. You know what I mean? Like I was in the streets because money talk, bullshit walk 1,000 miles. You know what I mean? And like, it's hard to go out here and tell somebody who could potentially make $1,000 in a day that they should just lay down and do whatever. You know what I mean? So when you see that around you and you see people with nice cars and you see people living their dreams and you see all this around you, you know what I mean? The money is really what you want until the police show up. You know what I mean? And then, when you end up with a couple of charges or you end up with, a lost friend, you know what I mean? Or you end up with like family that loses time, you know what I mean? Like whatever it may be, they got so many different ways this situation could be set up to stamp your life, you know what I mean? And put something on your life that could be for the worst, but in my situation, I think, God used that to make me be able to see better in the situation, and to be able to make me self-driven in situations, you know what I mean? So I don't look back on my past as if it was a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like me living life probably could have been the best thing that ever happened to me. You know? Yeah. Yes, indeed, Lord.
So you said you started acting around the age of 23.
Yeah.
And you said one of your buddies kind of pushed you onto it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Growing up though, like as you going into the acting stage,
Right.
23, 24, you
Right.
said, you know what I mean? How did you? Was there any movies that you actually wanted to particularly star in? You know what I mean?
You know, I ain't gonna lie. I always been like a huge action movie fan because I grew up on movies that like were funny. They had something that made the family watch it together. You know what I mean? They had a bunch of real things in it, but the bullets were still real. You know what I mean? And like, you know, it was, you know, movies like Bad Boys and Beverly Hills Cop, and you know, I always wanted to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jerry Buckheimer. I mean, you know, if you ain't doing nothing, I ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? But you know, like it was always that for me. Like if I could be in an action movie that had all the boy toys, if I could fly a helicopter, shoot a tank, dump a M16, drive a Ferrari, you know what I mean? Like be a detective, whatever. I'm all the way down for that. You know what I mean? But it was always those movies that were like super real, you know what I mean? But had those human characteristics and qualities that you love, you know, in real life, you know, that I grew up on. So I never really saw it as my future. You know what I mean? But I mean, now that I'm walking down that road, like I'm definitely shooting for that spot, you know? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Actually, that's something you always wanted to just do, or you know what I mean? But you answered it. You said your homie kind of influenced you into it.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, you know, when it comes to the way my brain is set up, I live for instant gratification. You know what I mean? Because I had odd jobs. I was a cook. I was an electrician. I was an oyster shucker. You know what I mean? Like, but it was all things that I could do to give you a product and watch you immediately change. You know what I mean? Like when you give somebody food, you put a smile on their face like no other. You know what I mean? You change their life. You know, when you hit the switch after you done wired this entire situation that you done put together, and you be like, Lord, I'm the reason this shit light up. You know what I mean? It's different. You know what I mean? And that's what my soul always lived for. So when I got a hold of acting, it was like, I'm like a pit on the collie. You know what I mean? Like it's real. It's real.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
How did you get your role in Straight Outta Compton?
Man, it's so crazy. All right, because before that, like I had read for maybe 5 or 6 lead roles, and I just wasn't getting them. Like hands down, just you know what I mean? But when you watch the movies, you see why they weren't picking me. You know what I mean? Like Pitch Perfect and things that I just wasn't right for. You know, but I was so like I was just ready, or I thought I was ready. You know, but they sent me the email, you know, like, oh, this movie Straight Outta Compton and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, you go through all the channels, like, is this going to be a BET movie? Is this going to be like a, you know, just like, is this going to be like, how is it going to be? And they like, nah, Q behind it, Dre behind it, the whole N.W.A behind it. So I'm like, yo, I think I could really do this. You know what I mean? So I go read with this lady named Megan Lewis, because I wanted to send a tape in, you know what I mean? Because, of course, I'm not about to fly to California to get turned down, you know? So I sent a tape in with this lady, Megan Lewis, who like super Boston. This lady, like, she's super tough, you know what I mean? Like, she definitely got that kind of demeanor like she could rob a bank, you know what I mean? Like, that's my girl, you know? But she's just a super chill, hard to read person, you know? And I read for her for so many roles, and I never ever booked with her, right? So this particular day I go in, I read, I do my whole thing. You know, I did the hospital scenes, I'm crying, snot dripping and shit. And she's like telling me, just breathe, you know? And I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, I done got through it, you know? So I started laughing, she started laughing, she double high-fived me, walked me to the car. I'm like, this is not the Megan Lewis that I know, you know? But it was cool, you know? I'm like, yo, it felt good, it just felt right, you know? So days go by, weeks go by, almost a month go by. They call me back and they're like, yeah, Jason, we'd like to fly you out to LA for a callback. And I'm like, wait a minute, see, ain't a callback a situation where you still might not be able to get the role? And they're like, yeah, but you might want to do it. And I'm like, but see the way my bank account's set up, I can't just fly out there to be told no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got kids. I need to be doing my thing. So they called me back in like 30 minutes and was like, yo, Gary want to Skype with you. F. Gary Gray, the director. So I'm like, yo, all right, cool. So I Skyped with him and smashed it. Needless to say, like, I felt like it was my chance. I went Eminem. You hear me? Lost myself in the moment, just came up, right? So I'm sitting there and the same thing is happening. You know what I mean? Like, I'm crying, snot dripping, and Gary telling me, breathe. The same thing that Megan was telling me, right? So I just bust out laughing. And then I could hear like a bunch of voices bust out laughing, and I could only see his face on the Skype going back and forth like. So I'm like, yo, it was crazy. And I booked it right there on Skype. It was crazy. I'd never been to California before that moment. The first time I went to California was when they came and got me to do that role.
Wow.
Yeah. Had to turn up, put the California on for him one time. Always had that influence, you know what I mean? So I knew about Eazy. I knew about a lot of these people. Like, I did my homework before, you know what I mean? Like, and it was such a privilege to be able to be in them shoes, you know what I mean? But I just started like anybody else would start. I'm gonna go to your kids. I'm gonna go to your family. I'm gonna do everything, you know what I mean, that you would do on a regular basis, you know what I mean? Like, and California just fully embraced me. Everybody wanted me to hit the mark. You know what I mean? So everybody that I reached out to was down to do whatever. You know what I mean? Even if we took a 5-minute ride down Piru Street, or if, they explained to me what this was or that was, they always was there for me. And I think just having that, having Cube, having Dre, having those people right there rooting me on and telling me, yo, we picked you because you're the right man for the job. It just gave me the confidence in what I think I was kind of already doing, you know what I mean? And the universe worked together on so many things because, don't get me wrong, like, I feel like I did my thing in my role, but everybody else showed up the way I did, you know what I mean? From cameramen to directors to, lighting people, everybody who put stages together, everybody who hired anybody, like, everybody worked together. And then we had things happening like Ferguson is on TV and, so many things that happened that worked together in the universe to make it such a situation, So I just felt like I couldn't drop the ball. I might have been like a thread that kind of wound the characters together, but that movie in itself wasn't my vision. It was F. Gary Gray that made that happen. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I just kind of got the best of the best in the situation. I had somebody that helped me focus that energy and helped me make it what it was. You know what I mean? I can't give myself all that credit and be like, nah, I deserve an Eazy E biopic by myself. You hear me? Started off with me in the deathbed and we gonna go from there and do a whole mini-series. I can't do all that, because it was a thing that was really real.
All right, once again, shout out to Eazy E.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Eazy E.
Yeah, definitely rest in peace to the dude. It's been 22 years today since he died. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a special day, A moment of silence for the homie.
We're gonna move on from the Compton movie to the Kong Skull Island that you got coming out.
Dope.
Let's see, opened up the Hefty for about 81.6 million.
Ooh.
Foreign markets at theaters. How do you feel to be a part of that?
Ooh, that's what they saying? Man, because I try to stay out of the tabloids and all that, all the numbers. And to be honest, it's still something that I'm like trying to grasp and understand. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to even process that many people know who I am right now. You know what I mean? I be like, what's happening? But to be honest, like, Kong was something different. You know what I mean? Like, I worked with real movie stars. You know what I mean? I traveled the world doing this film. I don't know. It's just such a triumph. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a. It's such a privilege. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's next level. I can't even really describe it in words. I had my brother Corey Hawkins there with me the entire time. I had so many people like to look up to and have great moments with, but at the same time, I got to travel to these beautiful places, Hawaii, Australia, Vietnam, you know what I mean? Get embraced by so many good people, but also make the best monster movie ever made ever. You know what I mean? Like there's no topping Kong. You know, so it's dope. That's dope.
Like you said, you work with real movie stars. What was it like working with Samuel L. Jackson?
Sam Jackson, you know, when you first meet him, you find yourself in this weird medium of like, I just want him to say something to me. Like, I don't know if I want to be cursed out right now. Like, I don't know if I want him to call me a motherfucker or like, you know, you waiting on some sort of pop, you know, but you lay back and figure out that he a man just like you a man. You know, he put his pants on just like you put your pants on. But he's 67 years old and ain't worrying about if nobody like him. He's not living his life for what everybody else thinks. You know what I mean? So he hands out life gems rather than things you could just use on camera. You know what I mean? He tell you something that you could really hold on to and tell your children that, you know, like it's deep. Working with Sam is real, you know, but he's such a advanced person just all the way around, you know what I mean? And you can learn from a baby, so if you can't learn from Sam Jackson, I mean, you know, you're in the wrong lane. That's my dude, though.
Okay, what you think what was one of the funniest things you think happened to you while you was on set on that movie?
Wow. Man, they had so many good things that was just so funny. I gotta say, cause see, I don't really do big water. Big water ain't really my thing. Wild water and wildlife, that ain't really my thing. You know what I mean? I think that really showed naturally in the movie. There was some things I didn't have to play up. You know what I mean? I'm in some weird, sketchy water that's way up here. I can't see through it, you know. So one day, we out there and, you know, I'm trying to keep my nice little stance together and just keep my mind together because I'm in this weird water, you know what I mean? I got to hold a gun way out the water and, you know, I'm already short. So it's you know, we already having a great time. But then an eel swims between my legs, hit both of my knees, boom, boom. It's funny now. But at the time, it really wasn't funny at all. You know, it was a joke for everybody else. But now that I look back at it, I think that was probably one of the funniest set moments I had. It was great. Yeah, I'm not with it. I'm not with the Steve Irwin life.
If you could star in any remake of any movie, what you think it would be?
Ooh, definitely Beverly Hills Cop. Definitely Beverly Hills Cop, for real. Eddie Murphy was my favorite growing up. Like, he was somebody who just let go on so many different levels, you know what I mean? And we watched him evolve into something else, but like, starting from there, you know what I mean, was just dope. He set the bar.
Who do you think you would want to star in it with you if you make that movie? If you can make that movie happen.
Man, I don't want to throw nobody under the bus. Michael Cera. Definitely Michael Cera. Me and him got a strange, weird connection. Like, we get each other. Yeah, that's my dude. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like the dynamic of us two on camera is already funny. You know, so if we bring it to life, like, amazing things could happen.
This ain't rumor that you were supposed to be in a relationship with Mary J. Blige.
That's what they said? Wow. No. Jokes. She a good friend of mine, you know what I mean? We did a movie together that was, I mean, it got standing ovations, you know what I mean? Like, we definitely spent great, happy times together, but, I mean, I think in the process of that, people think, like, they get things misconstrued, and the public want to make things more than they are, you know what I mean? But, you know, it was just a great moment for us and a real victory lap, you know what I mean? So I think things just got misconstrued between her situation, you know? Mudbound. Yeah, it's directed by D. Reeves. It's dope. Carey Mulligan is in it. Jason Clarke, who I did my first film with, is in it. So many good people, man. Rob Morgan, of course, Mary J. Blige. Just Garrett Hudlin. We just had a really stacked cast, and it was, man, we made magic, you know. Later this year, I'll sell us some, you know. We go to Netflix, you know, sell us some. But yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you would just like to give the people? Let them know about you, anything else that you didn't, that I missed?
Oh, man, the only thing I'd like to give the people, man, for 2000 in Holly Grove is just stay self-motivated. You know what I mean? Stay self-preserved. Just sometimes you got to keep your head down. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to be an Indian and not a chief, and just make sure your body and your mind and everything stays healthy. You know what I mean? Just watch the company you keep. Make sure everything around you has the same smile. You know, treat your life like a face, and you always want to work the right muscles in your face. Otherwise, you're going to age fast. You know what I mean? And it takes so many muscles to frown, and it takes so many things to, you know, kind of like detour around the bullshit. You know what I mean? So if you can stay grounded, stay level-headed, and stay happy, you're already headed in the right direction. You know what I mean? So, you know, just keep continuing to fight for that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Yeah.